Hey, it's Don, the Auction Professor here. We are live tonight again. Typical talk. I've got some new things going on. I'll give you an update on my son. We had a visit with an electrophysiologist today, so we've had a lot of stuff going on this week. I've had a lot of stuff going on business-wise. I've got some deals going on. I've got some new things going on with Amazon. So I'm going to talk some today about Amazon, a little bit about FBA, retail arbitrage, and a few things along that line too. Again, because we do have a lot going on this week. So wife's sick, things along that line too. So wife's got bronchitis right now. She's on antibiotics, and I'm still recovering myself. So everybody here but my oldest has gotten sick. My youngest missed some more school, so things are going on, but we've got a long way to go with everything. A lot of tests for my son still, so literally me and the wife slept like 2 hours last night. Pretty much worried about his visit today. I've never been into an electrophysiologist's office before, and this is from the University of Michigan as well. There's only just over 100 electrophysiologists who deal with children in the entire country. I would have had no idea. So the electrophysiologist in this area is like 100 and some odd miles from where we live. He only gets this way very rarely, so we might be making trips to Michigan as well too to deal with some of this. He's going to have constant visits and echo sounds of the heart and things along that line to monitor. They don't want to jump in to do any drastic heart catheterization or anything like that. So we're still waiting to see more results. We did find out today that the day we went to the hospital the first time, that his heart was 75% of his heartbeats were off. So that's quite a high number. It was down today in the office, down to just over 50%. So maybe it's a good sign. We're still waiting to see, but it's something that is common. After talking to the electrophysiologist too, we find that it's something that could just happen out of the clear blue. We were really puzzled and wanted some more answers, but at least we were, reassured on some things. So I don't want to talk a whole bunch about that because, it's just been a very trying day for us. Anyway, got some stuff going on too, as I said. We've been on Amazon for a while now. So for those of you who are thinking about Amazon, I would honestly recommend you starting, just getting some books up there or something, even if that's not what you want to do. Once you've been on Amazon for a long enough time, you can just get ungated in a bunch of stuff. And I've been watching some other channels, Bearded Picker and a few other ones, Rise and Grind and things like that too. And I've got a new, obviously, angst to get some more stuff going here. So we've done a retail arbitrage for a while now. We're going to go full swing. After the last couple days, I've been going through on Amazon and applying for ungating and everything I could possibly think of that I run into now. And we've got ungated on, I don't know how many, couple hundred different things, new items that I would do, new categories. I will be ungated in automotive. I also got accepted into the homemade on Amazon. If you're not familiar, it's something that they started in 2017 in the end, and it's a rival to Etsy. Now, we're on Etsy as well, too, but from what I hear and the people that I've talked to, you'll make more money selling the exact same things on Amazon. So they wouldn't let us into it when we first applied, a year and a half or so ago when we first started on Amazon. Nowadays, once you've been on for a year, we've got 5-star rating on Amazon. They opened it up for us. So, and then we also applied for business recognition because we do have our name is registered, our business name, not my store name per se, but our business company name. So we've got a lot of stuff going on at Amazon. We've also got a business-to-business account now on Amazon, where we can sell mass quantities of stuff to other businesses and vice versa. If you're not familiar, there's a bunch of stuff. We're on merch by Amazon. As I said, homemade now by Amazon. We've been ungated. I've got invoices pending on some other items too. We've been able to do CDs, DVDs, and things on Amazon for a while because we do wholesale. And just to touch on that too, for those of you who want to break in there, and I know a lot of people have an issue trying to get the invoices in the last, say, I think it's 180 days or so. I think July is what they wanted. Anything past July 27th, if I'm not mistaken. Invoices past that date. We buy stuff just before Christmas, so we have actual invoices that I can supply to Amazon. Legit, full-time, full-fledged wholesale manufacturer invoices. So that's how we got into like DVDs and CDs on Amazon. Now, without that, it's almost impossible. We were, shut out, when we first applied. That's why we didn't do Amazon sooner. But once you've been on and you start with books or something, you get a good record, you're on for a year, Amazon just opens the gates, it seems, because we got on Gated and just all kinds of stuff. Even like chemicals and just a ton of categories. We got a response back, so we will be on automotive too, because we're in Detroit area. So automotive supplies I can get wholesale too. I did find somebody for that. Second class ones and older material I can find. And I do get it NOS stock quite often around here, the opportunity to get it, but I haven't bought it for the most part unless I could sell it on eBay. But now with the ability to sell in ungated areas on Amazon, that's what we're going to be gearing towards. So you're going to see some other content here related to this. Let me show you too. I've been talking about the arts and stuff going on. Monster Clay just showed up the other day. With everything going on, I haven't had a chance to touch it, but I was really excited. This is, primo stuff here. This is a 5-pound tub of it. This is what you sculpt, and they sculpt action figures out of, and the whole works. This is like $30 plus shipping, so it's not cheap for what it is. But I used Chavant clay before this, which is about the same price, or a little more actually. So I'm going to be going into some of those. You'll see some more construction videos. I'm going to show you start to finish how to construct figures and things like that. We're going to cast. I'm going to probably do that as a second video on it any day I do that, so that there's still content for selling, vintage and collectibles and bolos and things like that too. So I'm not going to alter content. I got some more content coming up too for Patreon. Tomorrow's video is going to touch on a category that I've been into for a long time. I'll give it out to you. It's 78 records tomorrow is what you're going to see. I'm going to show you the primo ones. I'm going to get you interested in looking for these items if you haven't. I talk about that throughout the video. It's about 20 minutes. It's already shot. It's already uploaded. It's ready to go. It'll be up probably tomorrow afternoon. I'll probably make it live. So I've been trying to get stuff caught up and ahead. I'm going to be on Patreon tonight, this evening. So for those in Patreon, I will be on there this evening. Facebook, I will be on tomorrow. Again, as I said, we got like 2 hours of sleep last night, me and the wife. We were just kind of worried about the visit for today. So, my time has been kind of scattered this past week or so. And then we've got other appointments to set up and stuff too. So anyway, I probably won't be on Facebook tonight, but tomorrow I will. You might be able to tell my voice is a little hoarse. I've been taking sinus and allergy stuff too, so not really interested in getting anything from anybody else or passing it along. So anyway, as I said, there's a lot of stuff going on. I appreciate everybody in the comments and the whole works here. We can start doing some questions in just a minute here. I'll probably, again, as I said, we will be going into more on Amazon, just on like retail arbitrage. I've got some items that we found. Believe it or not, we made a ton of money. I was lucky enough to find 4 cases of a honey. And the honey actually sells for over $100 for a jar. It's from overseas. I'm not going to give out the name, but anybody who's interested or can dig, you can just do a comp search on honey. You're not going to miss it. It has shown up on clearance in a few areas and some stores that were closing. So I've gotten everything in my driving area. We've already actually sold all but a couple of jars of it. We've been getting over $100 for some of these jars on Amazon. So, I'm just shouting that out there. So if somebody's interested, that's something you might want to look for. It's a foreign brand. It's sold as a medicine kind of thing. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. But there's many other retail arbitrage. I've called out the Legos that we've been finding at Burlington, TJ Maxx, and Ross's. I've been finding them. You're only going to find a couple at each store, but I drove to a bunch of stores and we ended up with a ton of those too. And then our wholesale deal too. So if you're wanting to expand, start out small. If you're nervous on going on Amazon, Get yourself a basic account, start listing a few books. If you don't want to do and pay for the business account for the $40, you can pay and just list a few items until you're comfortable with it, or sell some. You can swing in FBA as well too. As I said, I've talked in the past, we've done FBA books years ago, when we did clothing mostly, but once Amazon changed the price for FBA books, we kind of dropped out of it. I still do send some FBA books in though. There's a big sale coming up, so I may show some in there. I don't know. Last sale I went to for books, I wouldn't really want to have filmed. It was pretty chaotic. People were, grabbing bundles of books and pushing and shoving, and it was just a tight area. So I don't know if I'll mess around with that. I don't really want to be asked to leave, but you might see a bunch of books. We purchased a huge storage facility. I bought all the boxes out. They're not all here yet, but I will be showing a big haul. I'll probably have to have Ian here help me one day. This is from a picker who has passed. I've got a ton of boxes. I have no idea what's in them. I didn't buy all of them either. I split it with somebody else. I have no room to take a semi-truck trailer full of stuff, and I would not want to have to deal with that, but I wanted the records. I bought a ton of LPs. I've got probably 4,000 or 5,000 picked LPs that were picked by this picker that he specially picked, that I'll be adding to my inventory as well. And I might go through those if I get enough interest in people wanting to see, selected LPs. Because there's a lot of them, and I've looked through them. I like soundtracks, and I got a whole box of vintage soundtracks from the 50s and 60s. I mostly collect like Von Ryan's Express, The Great Escape, Kelly's Heroes. I love the old war-related ones because I watched those with my father. And my father died at 17, so for me, it brings back fond memories. So I do collect some records. Obviously, I've talked about it. I'm an audiophile, love music. I've been into records and stuff for a long time. So if there's a bunch of interest and people leave a bunch of comments, I will probably do a haul video just on LP records. And I'm telling you, it's a ton of them. They're all handpicked by him. He didn't pick up junk. So there's probably some really good records in there. I looked through probably maybe 5% of them to make sure that I'm going to get some money out of them. And every box had some really high dollar ones in it. So there's some really blues. There's a lot of rock in there from what I saw psychedelic 60s, garage rock. Just a lot. There was a Bob Seger in there too. If you're not familiar, Bob Seger had garage rock before he ever was popular. A lot of it's like anti-Vietnam era. It's really cool in my book. I like the old Bob Seger 2+2 and all that kind of stuff better than some of the newer stuff. I may have got the song name wrong, but it's on one of my my playlists as well. So anyway, Bob Seger's from around here, so if you're not familiar with him, I do listen to a lot of varied stuff. So I even listen to classical. I don't listen to country or disco. Nothing against country. I just like early rockabilly country if it's going to be country. My wife listens to it all. She grew up on Loretta Lynn and all that kind of stuff. Coal Miner's Daughter is one of her favorite movies. I've watched it many times with her. Tommy Lee's good in there as well too. So anyway, hopefully that gives you a little idea on what's going on here. We've got a lot of stuff going on with all the issues going on with my son. Bills are coming in. We've already had some outs and some arguments with the insurance company as well, over an MRI with him and stuff like that too. So we're going to be doing what we can to expand even further and going into some other avenues. I'll probably be doing some trips to pick up and do some retail arbitrage in the general area, as well as within an hour or two from here. So I'm going to show you some other things, other avenues, some quick turnarounds. I'll be probably going to more auctions because I want to get some more stuff going here, and we're bringing in another employee. I think his first day is going to be this weekend. And if this goes well and things start picking up, I might even bring in a second new employee this year. Bringing my total up to 10 employees. I'm kind of borderline on getting over 12 because then I raise my fees on payroll and other issues with that as well too once you have so many employees. But these are what's going on with us now. Again, hopefully that gives you some ideas. I see somebody talking about the weather here. It's been on and off snowing. I think the high tonight or the low tonight is supposed to be like 16. It would be nice if it looked like it did behind me now in the video outside. I always love the look of snow. This year has been just terrible with climate change and the whole works. And what's going on. I've never had a winter up here that we didn't have snow on the ground by this point. This is a first, and it's really kind of weird because it was 50 plus degrees just the other day in, January, which, is unheard of. I even tried to go back and look how long ago it's been that warm, and I couldn't even find one for the date. So, who knows? But anyway, let's move on. Again, if you've got any questions, I'm not going to call out everybody like in the past. I'm just trying to give a better opportunity to get some questions and more information in. I appreciate everybody. Obviously, I think everybody can know that. I really try to help and give out my information. I see a bunch of new names on here too, which is always glad to see. Delaware, Texas. We have somebody from the UK, Ireland. There's a gentleman in our Facebook group who's from Australia. So it's nice to see folks from other sites. And you learn some stuff from this too. Like if you're not aware, you can have like as many listings as you want, and some of the package deals that eBay offers, and like eBay UK and things like that too. So, just FYI. I see we're talking about where we're from. I'm in Ohio, so if you're unaware, I'm on the Ohio-Michigan border almost. Michigan's like 30 minutes away. Indiana is not too far. I get to a 3-state area usually, or at least I cover a 3-state area. So anyway, it's still in my winter season. Sales-wise, hopefully everybody's sales are going up. If you're unaware, I'm going to give this one out here too. If you're unaware, this is the time you want to do some sales on your items. I wouldn't do more than, say, 25%. Everybody's looking for a deal right now if you're unaware of that. If you're new, this is your first season you went through, you're struggling with it. I price things high, as everybody knows. You've seen my sold videos. Again, this all works into my philosophy. You're going to sell certain amounts of things high, no matter what anybody else sells them for. It's going to happen. Anybody who's been on long enough will realize that as well, too. And with that, I don't have to mark stuff up to go ahead and mark it down and still get what I want for the items. So if I mark something for, say, $30, if I get $10, I'm happy with it. So just keep that in mind. And half the time I sell it for $30, $20, $25. So now time I've ran a whole bunch of sales. My on I think like 10,000 plus items I ran sales on in one store. All items that have been up for a little length of time. I've been getting sales like mad. My phone's been going off. I actually turned it off while we were out today, which I usually don't do, but it was just going off. We were at the hospital and, with the tests and all were going on. So it was a hectic day on sales. I have to admit, I was kind of floored by the amount that we got in. Usually I mark them down, about the 10th. Usually after a holiday or after the 1st, it's usually slow. If you're not familiar, you're not tracking it. For the first 7 to 10 days. That's usually how it is. I talk about this many times. So after everybody pays their rent, their mortgage, and everything else going on, it's slow. And as well with the shutdown going on now, there's a lot of people who aren't making, any money or taking any money in. There's other people, family members that are worried. The stock market's all over the place. So sales could be slow for some people, I'm telling you now. What I sell stuff that doesn't really isn't affected. Most of the stuff I buy is stuff that no one needs in the first place. So they're always spending extra money that, their expendable money, their extra money to buy what I got anyway, because most everything that I sell, again, as I said, isn't needed by anybody at any given time. It's all collectibles. So it doesn't really matter if the market swings or something. These people have the extra money. They're spending, $10, $20 on a postcard. They've got extra money. So my sales aren't affected like everybody else's are. We were a little slow from the 7th or from the 1st through the 10th. But again, I expect that. I expect it. We've already almost completely made up any losses we had from the first 10 days of the month, starting as of today. Again, I ran a ton of sales as of last night. 7 o'clock last night, I rolled in sales. My phone started going off like at 10:30 or so. We went to bed like 1 o'clock or something. The phone kept going off throughout the night. So anyway, sales have been coming in. I bet you I probably have a bunch more right this minute on my phone if I look. But again, this is the time to run sales. Another sale here, Glenwood Christmas card, $13. So, that's just in the last 10 minutes. So, sales are coming in right now across the board if you mark stuff down a little bit. So, you got to play the game. You got to price them correctly. You don't want to be jacking up prices just to lower them down. I run high prices all the time. So, when I run a sale, it's no big deal for me. Doesn't affect. It still brings my actual sale price on the item within the range I still want to get. Whatever you put up, know what you want to get out of it. If you put something up for 30 bucks, know what you want out of that item. If you put something up for 10 bucks, with a make an offer, know what your bottom line is before you put it up. Know what your playroom is on that, and always look that up as well too. I have a set pricing scheme that I do for everything. You can see they're like 1850, 1750, 2450, 2750, 3450, 5750. Sometimes I use 45. These all come into play on what I can take out of that item. So I know if an item is, say, 3450 in a category like trade card or a postcard, I know what my bottom line is automatically. I price them the same way, and that's why it works and why I can tell where I'm at. I don't have to dig up, but I don't have to look at a piece of paper. I know by my pricing scheme. So I mean, there's a lot to what you do. You've got to understand the market. You've got to understand pricing. Again, it's going to take time for anybody, even like me, who's been on for years. I've been on eBay since literally they were called eBay the first year. So I learn something constantly, and I do mean constantly. And that's why I say it's nice, and the groups that we have and the sites that I watch, the other YouTubers I watch, are a huge plus for me, for my business, for what I do, and part of why I'm on here as well too. So, and I love conversing, I love talking. So anyway, let's see if we got any questions. I think I already saw a couple questions in here. So if anybody has the questions, pop them in. Welcome for those first-time viewers. Land O'Lakes, Florida. I have been there myself. I lived in Florida for 10 years, if you're not familiar. Southern Cal, I've been to Whittier, California. I worked there. Delaware, I've been to. Texas, of course. We've got family in Austin and in Dallas area. I worked in Houston for a couple months filling in as a regional. So I've been around the country. I see someone's from PA. I've been in Pennsylvania many times. I worked in D.C. So I've been around the country, good, bad, or indifferent. Nowadays, I don't do that. I don't like traveling too much, but... Carl Bach, any thoughts on old Aunt Jemima ads cut out? Some are large. Came into a grief for next to nothing. Hope is getting better. Yeah, son, we're still going. We have no different change. We don't know still on the outcome of this at all. It's just going to be something monitored. Aunt Jemima stuff does sell. I would want the earlier the better. The ads usually, when I have Aunt Jemima ads, I usually list them in lots of like 4 or 5. And then I put them up for like $34.50. If they're decent early ads, they usually go very quickly. So just keep that in mind. It depends on the age of them, the quantity, and the size. If it's a large ad, like from something maybe Saturday Evening Post, like 11 by 14 or somewhere in that range, they usually can be sold on their own. The smaller ones, like out of like a Time magazine or something like that from the 40s, 50s, those I usually put in a group. So they do sell. Some people do have a negative connotation towards the character, which I do understand. My wife's family does have some Native Americans, so things like Redskin and things like that are somewhat of a slanderous name. If somebody wants to use it, that's their problem or their issue. I'm not going to sit here and protest somebody or anything like that, but just be cautious and realize that you may get a negative comment on the character itself. So, I do sell certain items like that. I don't want to say heritage and history and all this stuff. It is a historical item to me. I love it for the graphics of most things I sell. So in no way, anybody who knows me knows that, I'm not a person to judge anybody for anything. And, especially those who know us from back in the day or Disney or something like that. So anyway, we hang out with a very diverse group of people. I don't worry about stuff like that. So anyway, just keep that in mind, Carl. It's just something to think about. Again, welcome everybody here. Thank you, Carl. Thanks, Melissa. Thanks, everybody. Cherry Picker, welcome. Penny Day. Do I have a number for Amazon? I emailed them. They said they would respond within 2 days. That was last week. I need to reactivate my account. You're not going to get through if you call them. I can tell you right now. I've got a direct line, and I never get any good answers on that. Amazon is not good for getting back with you. If they told you 2 days, I'd allow 10 to 14 days in all honesty. I was waiting for the auto one, for the auto clear, so they can allow us to sell automotive, and that took a while. So just keep that in mind. They always say 2 days. Always, always, always. chances are you might even have to go back in and send another update on it too. Or if hopefully you know where to go in. There's a spot you can go in and you can actually check your applications and you can apply or send another note to it. So that's usually what I do. If they respond with a denial, I just keep sending them messages constantly. I reapply every day. If they ask you for like a breakdown, a spreadsheet of what you're selling, I fill it out to the T. I do have some of that. I'm going to be posting in my Patreon group a few of the forms that I turned into Amazon. I'm not going to just shout it out because it's got information tied to my account on it, but I want to be honest and show you exactly what. So that's going to be a Patreon only, unfortunately, just for my own benefit. I don't want to broadcast certain things across to the world. And Patreon group's a very tight-knit, small group of people. So anyway, but there's a lot you can do. I just keep pestering them, honestly. That's your best bet. Just keep responding, keep responding. The minute they send you a response, respond right away. If they turn you down, look at why they turned you down. They might not say an answer, but I keep responding until I get an answer from them. I've said this before. When we first went to get cleared and ungated in some categories, I'm opened in collectibles, I'm open in vintage vinyl, I'm open in CDs and DVDs. It took a long time. It took us a month to be able to sell in collectibles, because collectibles at that time, they weren't opened. It literally said it was a locked category. They weren't accepting any new people. But I bugged them and I bugged them and I bugged them and I bugged them and I showed them, I sent them my actual screenshot, if I remember right, to my eBay store, and then I sent them a actual direct link to my store. And eventually I did get in. As I said, it takes a while. So just be patient with Amazon. 2 days means nothing, so whatever they tell you, don't pay any attention to that. 2 days is probably 10 days, as I said, at least for my personal experience. So anyway, hopefully that answers it. Thanks, everybody. Found some first edition, first print Harry Potters yesterday. Patricia, when you look at the Harry Potters, just make sure that the numbers, go from 10 down to 1 or whatever the edition is. 1 should be on there without any missed numbers. They all should be on the same side at the bottom of those. Harry Potters aren't huge sellers in first editions, but you get a real nice one. Some of them can go for some really good money. I do buy them when I see them. That is an item that you will find first editions, first printings at Savers, because I found many there. And it's not the only one. We find sometimes first edition Stephen King's. We've also found at, these sales and stuff, I've got 3 Anne Rice signed first editions by her. We've got one in person because we met her in person and got him signed at Whittier Books in downtown Disney when that was there. But we've got 3 specific ones that we got at Savers or Goodwill that were signed. So I always look at all the books in the first couple of pages when we get them. I even got a Stephen King signed that was dumped off at Savers. So keep that in mind. You're going to find stuff like that too. First editions are good. One that I always look for is the Talbot Odyssey. It's one that everybody misses. I'll give you the title of it. You can Google it and look up who's it by. But the Talbot Odyssey is one I've sold for a ton of money many, many times over. There's many like that too that we do sell. But the Talbot Odyssey is one that I seem to be able to find more often than not. And it's, $150 or better on that one. And I just got one the other day. It's the only reason I'm bringing that one up here. I still do buy books. We still do send some into FBA, mostly high dollar ones. I don't send in obviously any non-barcoded ones to them or anything like that, but we do sell those as, merchant fulfilled, so seller fulfilled. So, I do them all. 6 of them you should do very well, depending on price, of course. Ship and sunshine means you can sell an item or in a category. Maybe I missed something here. Let me see if I missed something. Yeah, maybe I'm just missing something here. Being ungated will allow you to sell. Most categories on Amazon are gated, meaning you can't get in, for those of you who are new to Amazon. It's going to take patience and perseverance to get in to sell on there. Like in our category, we can make up our own item numbers for it when you're ungated in collectibles, because there's no EINs or what's the number? I can't think of the numbers they give you. But there's none of the UPCs or anything to tie for any of the number or items that we sell, like the vintage records and things like that. So you get ungated, and they allow you to make up your own numbers, SKU numbers, or whatever you want to call them for the items. So that's the biggest plus when you're selling. And we got toy ability. I can sell some toys on there too. Obviously, there's some brands that we can't sell on Amazon because they're gated. And they're gated across the board. There's a ton of clothing, obviously, is gated. Shoes, there's a bunch of shoes that are gated. I do know somebody who runs a business who will allow me to sell some shoes on their account. I haven't done it yet, but that's the only option to get your items up if they're from some of the gated categories. So I would honestly recommend people looking into Amazon. Amazon is moving up. They're going after Etsy. They're going after eBay now. So I'm not trying to push Amazon on anybody. I know people have some negative reaction to Amazon and Bezos and all. And I know, not my type of person personally. I'm not trying to be the world's richest man or greedy or anything like that. So more power to them, I guess, in a capitalistic environment. But for the most part, I do like Amazon. We do make decent money on Amazon. And once you've been on, as I said, we've been getting ungated left and right. And I don't even have to wait. Now, when I submit something to be ungated, I give them my, phone number and the information. It usually asks, I think, for your email address and then a phone number. And this minute I hit submit, it tells me you're ungated already. It says you've been approved based on your length of service or length of time on Amazon, something along that line. So basically, I've just been ungated across the board. We've got pet supplies and things like that too, which is a key one for those who buy in bulk. So keep that in mind. The more you can get ungated in, the better. You're going to have to figure out invoices on your own. Don't ever submit a fake invoice to Amazon. I know somebody who did it, and he can never again sell. Amazon's really good on figuring out when you use a fake account and all this kind of stuff. So don't get yourself banned on Amazon. That is a no-no. Don't ever give them false information of any kind. Be straightforward and give them honest information. You're going to have to track down a wholesale deal. And that's part of why we do wholesale every year. We sell all the items in wholesale. We're very careful and selective. We've sold the same items for 2 years now, basically. And this is part of the reason why we're totally dropping drop shipping this time, because the drop shipping we did this year was just dwarfed by our wholesale sales. So if wholesale's going, and that's where the money's at these days, that's what I'm doing. And I'm very cautious on drop shipping anyway. We're very cautious. I do that on my third account, the one that we don't have a ton of stuff on, because if I risk something, I'm risking a small account. So anyway, keep that in mind when you're doing any of this. Amazon can be the bomb for people, so you just have to have the knowledge and the ungating for it to work. And again, it's going to take you time. It took us a while. Maybe I could have applied to be ungated from a lot of these categories a while ago, but until with the sun issues and things like that, I didn't have the interest at that point, because everything, was going. I wasn't interested in, jumping and trying some new things. But nowadays, I'm going to just throw everything out there, and we're going to try everything we can. We might fail, but, I'll put that out there too. I'll show you if we have a bad deal or a fail too. I'm going to be pretty open and honest with what's going on with everything we're doing. So let's go back. Let's get some questions. I know I talk a lot, so let's go on. Hang on. My feed is terrible. It always bounces back and forth. Vancouver, Washington. Wow, that's a little ways away. Hang on here. Let me pop back up, because apparently I'm way off on my chat here. Here we go. I'd love to hear more about Ungated. Hopefully I addressed that here. Once you get in books, anybody can get into books, Carl. So if you're interested in doing Amazon, start with books. You can literally just go with your phone and, a freebie app, or use a cheapo app if you can get the basic information. Most of the time, you're going to be able to tell from Amazon, where it's ranked. I usually look at ranking for most anything. Obviously, you can pay. There's other sites you can pay for that will help you with it. I'm not going to give you out a specific one for the phone. I use various sites and stuff too for that too. I don't always just sell everything on Amazon FBA for books. Sometimes I use Chegg as well too. Chegg, if you're not familiar, it's a college book thing, because I do walk up on some college books sometimes, and sometimes the price that they give you is a little more than Amazon FBA. It just depends, on how many is on Amazon, I guess you could say. Sometimes I sell it that way too. There's other sources you can sell stuff to, but on gating is a simpleton thing. Once you start selling books, you're in, and then from there you can expand. Once you start getting some feedback, they want to know that you are capable person. I know a lot of people complain about eBay or on Amazon asking for invoices. It's frustrating for me as well too, or it was until I figured it out. But I understand it because as a business person and running my own businesses and running businesses for other people, you don't want to bring another client in that's selling in your store that you're taking consignment items on or something along that line, unless they can give you the items when they're supposed to, or they can keep supplying you with those items. So Amazon wants to see a proof that you can order these items, that you can get the items that you're going to be listing. They don't want to waste time. It's server space, it's all that kind of stuff too. So, and if it's FBA, there's limits and things like that. There's deadlines and things you have to worry about too. I learned as I went with Amazon. I haven't, watched too many videos or anything on how to do Amazon. I just dove into it. I'm pretty good at figuring things out. So I dove into it. I read some of the Amazon boards. We're on a couple Reddits that I do follow too. So, I do, do converse after the fact and stuff. But Amazon, honestly, I haven't had any issues. I've had one return in the entire time I've done Amazon, and it was for a bed rail for elderly folks that you could go on. And we had a bunch of them, so it wasn't a big deal. Worst case, though, I couldn't sell it back on Amazon once it was returned. I did sell it on eBay, and I sold it anyway. So, that was my only issue I've had on Amazon. Again, we've got 5-star on Amazon, so, I mostly sell vintage items on there, too. So, as again, we do FBA and stuff like that, too. So, that's just part of the game. You got to learn it if you want to advance your business. I would honestly recommend people doing that. Books are kind of a rat race, but I walk up on so many places that have books. I still do books. I probably won't give up books, but I couldn't do Amazon FBA books for a living. It used to be my bread and butter along with clothing, but again, you see I've totally switched my whole line. No clothing. We don't buy it anymore. I'm actually going to get rid of my mannequins and things like that too. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll keep one just for jackets and stuff because I still do mess with jackets, but anyway. Yeah, Patricia, I did see that. He is getting divorced. That was on the front page of the news. Thanks, Lisa. Brian, the Oak Brook Picker, welcome. Honey Money. Yeah, Honey, believe it or not, look it up. Somebody's probably going to shout it out what the brand is, but it's an easy one. We found it by accident. It was something we didn't see. We buy honey. My wife likes honey and stuff too, so it was something that we found in a clearance aisle. It looked really expensive. And sure enough, once we started looking into it, it's a high dollar item for what we paid for it. Can you retail arbitrage on eBay? We do it all the time. Tara, yes. I'm probably going to do it anyway. Longview is a ways. Patient Picker, yeah, Amazon is better for arbitrage if you're going to ship it FBA to them, because again, I'm not storing it here. We're in I would say maybe, I don't know, total maybe 1,300 square feet I have, plus I have a storage building with a ton of records at my mom's house, so I've got a huge building that we can use that's climate controlled. So I do have space, but I'm not one to bring in a big pallet or anything like that. As I said, I did buy a ton of stuff just because I know where it's coming from. I know the picker that actually bought it. I've dealt with the guy for 4 years, God rest his soul, but things happen, and it was an opportunity to buy a lot of merchandise. And I do mean a lot. I've got stacks of boxes all over the place right now. It's pretty much filled up the area. So anyway, it's something you have to do once in a while. It's something I don't like to do. That's why I don't do a lot of storage auction purchases. If I do, usually it has to have something visible. I have to know there's records or something in there, and then I'll have to figure out sources to sell off the other items. I don't do any Craigslist people to my house or Facebook pickups. I only do that outside. No one ever comes to our house these days, partially because of my license. You're not allowed to have business out of the house other than the type of business I do, online selling. You're not allowed to have customers, I should say, at your house. Plus, you've got a liability if someone comes to your house and all that stuff. We have a business owner's policy, but I still don't want to have any claims, anything that we can do to avoid that. Plus, for safety, I would rather not somebody see the amount of material we have, you know, if they're coming to the house or something. So anyway, that's safety is always an issue. So please think of that when you're doing this as well too. Lex went to Loretta Lynn's ranch. I have not done anything like that. We had a chance to go to Graceland. We didn't do it. I probably wished I would have at this point, but you know, you live and you learn. Pittsburgh's cold. We're in Ohio. It's freezing up here too. 16 degrees for tonight. Ship and sunshine. I lived in Florida, as I said. I lived in Claremont, actually Mineola, if anybody's familiar with that, but we lived technically in Claremont, Florida. I worked at Disney, Walt Disney, for 10 years. We actually have a pension through Disney, believe it or not, me and the wife. So, you know, we racked up a pension. You know, I invested. We've got stocks and the whole thing from Disney. It's split, I don't know how many times since we had it, but appreciate all the nice comments, everyone. Park Saddle Seller. Been to New Hampshire a couple times too. North Carolina, of course, we've been through North Carolina. We drove the coast A1A before. Indiana, I do get to as well. Washington, I've only been in the state for just a few brief minutes anyway. Yeah, Carl, I do miss, you know, the sunshine to some extent, but I like the change in weather. I miss that these days. Plus, I grew up north, so for me, you know, it was a nice change. Being down south, that is. Been to Delaware. We went to Wisconsin Dells, W. Wally. I have pictures of there's a dog that jumps over the dell if anybody else knows what I'm talking about. New York, of course, I've been to New York. I was in Washington, D.C. for 9/11, and we had facilities in, you know, Washington, Virginia, and Maryland. And I transferred merchandise and products to New York, and I actually took the drive there after the fact, and we did see the World Trade Center before they finished it. And you know, we were right by the Pentagon when it was hit, so I've got some pictures, and we had a terrible experience with, you know, traffic jams and all that stuff. But anyway. We've flown into Portland, so I've been to Oregon as well. Michigan, middle of the mitten. Yeah, my father was born in Saginaw, so Sheila's Second Chance. You probably know the area. We've got, well, my mom has a cottage up in Lewiston, Michigan. We've been all the way through Michigan. We've went to Mackinac Island on the bridge area up there, Upper Peninsula. We go up to a little lake called Devil's Lake and Posey Lake occasionally too. So if anybody knows Michigan, you know, and then there's a big flea market near Detroit that we hit once in a blue moon too. For those of you in the know, Geezer Man, good evening. Michael, oh, good evening. Again, I'm not trying to miss anybody's names here. I want to get as much information out. I do go on. I'm long-winded, so. Philadelphia, I took some nice trips to Philadelphia. We took the train from D.C. area as well too. I delivered some vans for my company, and I decided to do it myself because I wanted to get to Philly. We had a friend in Philly that we worked with when we worked at Disney, so I wanted to stop by, and we hung out and had dinner that night. So I do like to travel occasionally, family-wise. I did call this out. We have some sick in-laws, so we did go down to the coast around Christmas time. Had a terrible visit because everybody was sick, and that's where we got sick from too. My youngest was sick 3 days. He was sick for Christmas, so we didn't end up doing anything for Christmas. So it was pretty much a bummer. And anyway, 1,000-mile travel for, you know, everybody being sick. So, you know, life goes on. You know, we're looking ahead to the future anyway. So let me see here. America Samoa, yeah, I've actually sold items to there, and there's another one. I think it's Macau, M-A-C-A-U, or something along that line. We've sold some to there. I've sold some to the U.S. Virgin Islands. The government, the military addresses are interesting too. I think they're APO or FPO addresses or something along that line. We still get stuff like that occasionally too. John Jones, I would love to see more about creating the garage kits, mold making, casting, especially the packaging. Yeah, I've got another packaging video. I've shot part of it. I'm going to go over how to do master scan sheets. I've got maybe a half a dozen emails, personal emails, and then probably another 10 or so messages and stuff on how to find it and what to do. I'm going to go over that step by step and show you the actual process. I'll show you packing up and things like that in person, so you'll get to see that. I was debating on doing it on a live video. We've messed around. Hopefully this feed here looks a little better. The green screen should be a little better. Ian's going to help me, and we're going to do some more things, and we're going to bring in Ian, and I'm going to have some other people. My youngest son's going to be on and going to talk about some of the things that he buys and stuff. My oldest son's going to be talking about one of the items he's actually physically created. I'm not going to haul it out because we're still working on some copyrights and things like that too. So he figured out something on his own, which I was really surprised, and he buys and sells and stuff, and he creates and sells too. Both of my kids are messing in with some of this stuff. My one son likes military and military collectibles too. So I'm going to introduce you to that. My wife was actually going to be on this evening. I'll try to get her on next week, but she's been taking antibiotics. She's had a fever and been sick with bronchitis, so she was going to be a surprise guest tonight. I've had a lot of people say, why is it just you? Everybody's not as thrilled as being on here as I am, so just FYI. But my youngest son will be on. You'll see some other folks and stuff like that too. Ian, we're going to work on getting him to pop in so he can show things too. Anyway. Green screen wise, I've talked about this before. It's a necessity to some extent. The curtains behind me, and I've got a big 10-foot window behind me, and it's just not practical with the room space we have. So anyway, we are going to be working on that. But for the garage kits and stuff, John, we are going to be showing you step by step, as well as I'll do another finish the packing video here. I usually shoot a bunch of videos in the same day just because if something happens, I want to be ready to be able to have content for everybody. If I don't post something, sometimes I get a bunch of emails and texts and things like that wondering if everything's okay and going on. Because with my son, I know we've had a lot of issues, and sometimes I've missed the live feed. It's not my choice, but with everything going on, our emotions are still high with everything. So, family first, and everybody pretty much who's followed me and watched my videos knows that I'm pretty much a family guy, full-fledged family. Everything's about the family these days, and that's why I do what I do. And I don't worry if I'm doing 10, 12, 15, hours a day. If it means I do 20 hours and sleep 2 hours, that's what I'm going to do, So, today, we did that. I didn't sleep last night, and we still got everything running and packing up, and got stuff listed today, got employees in today, typical day. Thank God with people being sick, though, I've got people that can cover every aspect of this these days. So, until you get to that point, I know it's nerve-wracking if you get sick. Part of the reason once you're doing this as a full-time business, you 100% have to get a business owner's policy. Get yourself an insurance policy. So if you get sick or the internet's down or there's a disaster, you can still get paid what you were making prior to that. They'll average it out for your month. You'll get a paycheck still with that insurance if something happens. So, you're sick and unable to work, it covers that. That's what a business owner's policy does. And some of the other policies, we have health policies and things like that too. So look into it. When you're working for somebody else, chances are you have health insurance and all this stuff. When you're working for yourself, though, you got to buy all that on your own. You have to get your own insurance, health insurance, which we had to do. We had to get our own business owner's policy, secondary insurance. The whole works. It's all ties in there. It covers the building you're in. It covers your vehicle that you use for business. If you have a moving van or whatever kind of van you have, it covers that if you use it for business. We have a van. Most people that I know who do eBay or who do bulk and stuff like we do have to have a van. We have a dual use van as well, so we can use it for, family and stuff like that, or for business. I would honestly recommend if you're going to start in this and you're going to do Amazon drastically and retail arbitrage that you have a bigger vehicle. It's just a given. There'll be so many times that had I had a 4-door or one of the smaller cars, I would have never been able to pick up everything that I did. I would have had to stop buying because my car was full. So having a van, and I load that thing up many times. So just FYI. Let's see here. Missy, I've gotten some lowball offers lately with no response from the counter offers. Sales have dropped right off. Now it's discouraging. It depends on what you sell. I don't know what you're selling, Missy. Again, now's the time to get your sales in. Start off with a 20%, a 25%. And it's also going to matter. Let's say you just started in August. You're not going to know what your standpoint is. If you start in like August or in summer and you're just now, getting up 500, 600, 700 items, you have to have quantity up. It has to be a certain quantity of items up. I can't give you a total. It's going to depend on what you sell. For us, if I list every day, I sell part of what I list every single day I list. So if I list 100 items today, 5, 6, 10 of those items that I just listed will sell every single day I list something. And on top of that, other items that were up for a length of time are going to be constantly selling as well. We didn't list very much when we were out of town. So I had some people listing, I had some people actually working when we were gone. So things did get listed, but we slowed down. My residual income kept it running through where I didn't have a drop at all. I didn't have an increase like we have been because I didn't have new items going up. But if you're getting discouraged and you're not listing, or you're just sourcing and not listing, I would just bomb the listings up as much as you can. Check comp prices on everything though. Research the items before you list them up. See what the competitors are doing. I know I've had some people make some cracks and say, you've got, you're showing items that, there's only, well, let me put this way. The comment was that I'm only showing a couple items that sold, but there's 50 of those items that didn't sell. Most everything that I show you in my videos, you will not find multiples of almost any of them up. So the items that I sell are the same way. Most everything that I sell, 50,000 plus items that I have up, almost every one of those items, there's only a couple of them up, if any. Those are the kind of items that I have that run my business and roll through. Now, we didn't start this way. This was never our intention to have it happen that way, but that's what happened. We steered away from clothing. We got discouraged with clothing. We got discouraged when Amazon raised the prices, when they started gating and locking out categories. So we changed our business up. Now, once we've been on Amazon and all this stuff and went and started cross-listing and all these other things that we've been doing, we're expanding on Amazon. We're expanding on eBay. We do Etsy. We do other sites as well too, Discogs and several other sites. If you're only selling on eBay, it's going to get harder and harder every single year eBay is here because so many other sites are out there. So, just keep that in mind. And I've talked about even like Ruby Lane. For those of you who don't know Ruby Lane was around when eBay, the first couple years eBay was around. And I thought they were dead. I thought they'd already died off and gone way of the wind. Like some of the other ones like the Big Red Toy Box and Big Reel and some of the other sites that sold individual items. But it's still there. They even advertise on eBay. You've got Bonanza. And I've talked about MySpace still makes millions of dollars, a year. So, all these other sites are still drawing business and stuff away from eBay. So if you're only on one site, you're only getting a small percentage of the entire market. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, eBay was like the most of the market. Almost everything was on eBay or Amazon, but nowadays it's across so many different sites. Everybody does, Poshmark and all these other sites, Bonanza and all these other places. Yeah, they may not be big, huge sites, but they're taking a little niche, so you've got to expand. And if you're only selling in a few categories, you've got to expand. If you're only selling clothing and books, you've got to expand. There's just no other way around it. The market's getting harder for those just breaking into it. It's still a great market, so if you're new to it, you still have a perfect opportunity as everybody else, but you're going to have to dig in. You're going to have to put a lot of hours in to do this. There's just no way around it. I say it all the time. You got to have the drive. If my sales are down, I'm not discouraged. I don't think I can tell you a time when I got discouraged in the last couple of years with the way things are going, even if there's a slow week or slow month. It's not a specific week. It's not a day that's going to make your business. It's the end of the year that matters. And that's what I look for. I'm not going to worry about a slow week or a slow day. And as I said, and I've said it before, even earlier in here, the first week or so of a month is always going to be slower. People, it's expendable income. It's income that they don't really need to spend. They pay their rent, they pay their mortgage, all their bills are due at the beginning of the month, so people don't spend as much. Most of my sales, or my increase in sales, comes at the end of the month, after the 10th. And it's month by month, it's like that, unless there's something else going around. Obviously, fourth quarter is pretty steady. I'm going to have a first quarter that's about as busy as my fourth quarter last year. I can promise you that, just because of what we sell. A lot of people saved up. They got gifts. There's not anything to buy. There's no real major holidays for many people. You've got Valentine's Day or something. But other than that, there's not a lot going on until, summertime rolls in. So people buy this time of year, believe it or not. At least the collectibles and vintage and antiques and stuff, they buy. Other people will tell you that's not true, but what I sell, you can look at my sales, I don't have the problem with it. Because what I sell, people don't need ever. Nothing that I sell really anybody needs. It's not like somebody needs to buy a vintage postcard and they're not going to be able to live without it. You need shoes, you need clothing, so those are necessities that people have to buy, and then they're selective, and they may go to a different site to buy it. They may not buy it off eBay. They may go and buy a brand new one off Amazon or something, because nowadays the prices are getting so comparable with the way that the thrift stores are raising the prices. I see used ripped up jeans, and not the pre-ripped up ones that are made to look like that, but junk jeans for 15-20 bucks. If I had to live off of a thrift store up here, I would be living on the streets, because it's just not possible. So, it depends on your market as well too. What you're getting is key. What you're selling, your research, your time into it. I've said it before. The Bearded Picker, he was one of the ones that commented he does 70 hours. That's about what I do. I might do 80 some weeks too. So, there's other people are going to tell you the same thing. If you can't do those hours, or don't want to do it, or aren't motivated enough to do it, this business may not be for you. No discouragement, no criticizing. Any business might not be made for a certain person. There's nothing wrong with that. You just may not be your thing. And I'm not trying to call anybody out or say any specifically. This isn't directed towards you, Missy, or anything like that at all, so please don't take it that way. But just in general, I've got the drive. All I got to do is look at a picture of my family, or look at the kids or something, and I know why I'm doing this. I don't care about any of the other factors. I don't care if somebody thinks I'm an idiot or don't know what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter to me. I'm making the money. I'm paying my bills. I'm taking care of my family and my own. I'm employing people, so I'm helping other people out in many ways. I'm offering information. I constantly get people telling me, that's helped and stuff. So I know that the information's valid and legit. I know what's going on with what we do. So anyway, let's get into some more questions here. Vintage freebooter, I'm always on a sale, usually 15%. Some people do that. That can be a good ploy. Just make sure you're marking it up enough to cover and compensate for it. Usually I do not do sales in fourth quarter unless I'm trying to clear something out. We dumped up all of our clothing on just cheapo auctions, so I'm hoping to blow out clothing. We'll have one more run of clothing. I think we counted 98 pieces of clothing, but it's all nice pieces, more expensive stuff that should move fairly quickly. I've got a 92 Bulls jacket and things like that too. They're all better stuff that should sell very, very well. For some big money. So I've tried to pick at stuff like that. Some nice designer leather jackets and things like that too. So just keep that in mind. Pictured. I have always sold Xmas lights I got at Walmart. Yeah, Christmas lights are always good. They sell all year round. The clear ones sell more than anything else. I don't mess with those all the time. I'm just out of space. And prior to this year, I couldn't get ungated on Amazon, but now I am. So we will be doing Christmas lights again as well too. Here they've already pulled all the Christmas lights out, so I'm going to a wholesaler next week who is supposed to have cases of this stuff just sitting there from some local auction or something. I'll have a receipt as well, so I'll have verifiable. That'll give me 3 receipts for stuff like that too. So let's see here. Lex says it slowed down. Again, it's the first of the month. Everybody spent a lot of money on Christmas, so bear with it. I can't speak for anybody's business. I can only tell you what we do and what works for me. So if I tell you something, it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. There's regional aspects of everything that you do. There's some areas that people can just live off of thrift stores. When we lived in Virginia, the thrift stores up there were the bomb. We walked up on NES collections at a thrift store with 500 games, and all kinds of stuff like that. Gas engine model planes and tether cars and vintage toys. Marks showed up every day of the week I was there. It's stuff like that. So it depends on the area you're at. But around here, if you're not selling vintage or wholesale, you're dead, at least from my personal experience. Or retail arbitrage. So let's see here. Brian, have you heard about the way to have your listings on eBay, UK, etc. at exchange rates? It's not global shipping, Crim. I got an email offer about it. If you're talking about list free on 6 sites or whatever, don't do it. I ran into some major issues. I didn't even accept it, and somehow it accepted it on its own and signed me up for 12,000 listings across 6 other sites and transferred all this stuff. The problem is you can't respond to most of those without going onto their site. And then it's in a foreign language and you have to translate, and the translations were terrible. I didn't want it. There's a way to back off it, but once you sign in, it's a nuisance. If that's what you're talking about, I'm sure it's the same thing. They constantly send out emails. They had a banner on the top just before Christmas, or a month or two before Christmas, on this. I complained to eBay left and right on it. I got in a big argument. It wasn't loud or anything like that. It was a polite argument. They insisted that I accepted the thing, and I says I didn't. I clicked onto the banner. But apparently on many times when you clicked onto that banner, it automatically accepted it, even though you didn't hit the accept button. I went back and forth with them over that, and there was no response to help it. So, eBay was a big fail on that one, tremendously. I would not personally do it if it was me. There's just too many issues. There's too many translation issues, too many ways to get yourself in trouble, because from what I saw, if you sold it in one country, you're going to have to go and take that down from the other 5 sites that it was on. And I didn't want to mess with it. And I know people talk about the third-party sites that will do that for you, where it'll bring all your listings in from every site you sell on, and you can look at them all at once and just delete one, and it'll fix it across the board. Those sites, for the amount of listings I have, would cost me over $1,500 a month. I could pay somebody for the few hours a week it would take to fix that, manually. It just wouldn't be worth it for me to save it. I would rather pay somebody to do it. So, take that into consideration. Your call on that, Brian, but I've looked into it. We got stuck with it. I looked at the listings, and I figured out how to stop it. You have to go into your eBay settings and third-party apps that you accept, and you have to block them. It's the only way you're going to get them off there if you accept it. So, FYI. Jelly does sell, if that's what you're talking about. Well, thank you, Theo. Thank you, Bob. Yeah, the shutdown can affect. You've got almost 1 million people not getting a paycheck. Not only that, there might be their spouses for that 1 million people. So 2 million people are affected, possibly, or more, because their wife now, or husband, whichever the case may be, may have to take up the slack, meaning that their household will have no extra money. And there's family of those that might be helping people out to cover for this time. So then you might have a couple more million people, and you've got other people scared and frantic about the issues. The stock market is all over the place. So there's just too many things going on to affect people that are selling new items, returns, clothing, books, and things like that. Those are the ones that are going to get hurt first, because those are necessities. People are going to back off on things like that, or buying a new shirt to wear. Collectibles, I find, do still sell. A lot of the people that buy from me are historians, professors, collectors, historical society, family members that just have to have a certain item because it's from their family. So that's usually where a lot of my sales come from. I'm up to over 18% in repeat customer sales. So 18 out of 100 of my sales are from somebody who's bought from me before. You can look that percentage up on your eBay hub too. There's a percentage. That's what you want to look for when you're selling things like I do, or niches specifically. You want to get that number as high as you can. I've seen some people that have that number into the 30s, which is horrendously good. That's a key factor in my success, is repeat customers. They're customers that have, income that they can just blow it on things all the time. That's what works for what I sell. That's why I don't slow down as much as other people. Small items take up little space, so it's not like someone's buying a big piece of glass or pottery all the time. It's cheap to ship, so it's something they can add to their collection all year round. And it's just a plus for us, these repeat customers. So keep that in mind. A perfect buy. Yeah, if you're not doing sales, shoot some sales out there. Yeah, hit the like button. Again, I forget on a lot of that stuff. I'm not as big promoter as you see a lot of the YouTubers. Nothing against anybody. I'm not making that as a criticism, but I forget about things like that. I get talking, and then I'm just more worried about the content. So let's see where we're at here. Charles Lowe, Christmas items I do list all year round, depending on what they are. I had an offer just today on a nice Christmas die cut, 14-inch die cut Santa Claus. So, the stuff still sells throughout the time. Last week we sold Christmas stuff too after it. Now's a good time to sell stuff that you want to clear out, because people are looking for clearance, as I said. This is clearance time for a lot of people. They'll buy it for next year and things like that too. So I still don't drop off selling things at this time of year. It's just not what I do. I just don't do that. Some items I do store up though, so. Truk. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. You got a scrapbook with Victorian trade cards glued into them. If they're glued into the book, I just sell it as a book personally. Your chances of ruining them are very high depending on the book. So I personally would list it as a whole item. I've had some other people ask me, and I've had some other people who wouldn't sell it as a book and then ended up selling it page by page. If you sell it that way too, somebody's going to cherry pick it and only buy the ones that are worth something, and then you're going to be stuck with most of the book, and you're not going to get the profit you want off of it too. So just keep that in mind. And when you get something like that stuck down in a book, don't pay big money for it at all. Pay as little as you can. There are people who just collect the books. So I know somebody who's got hundreds of scrapbooks like that full of cards. And he stores them, categorizes them, catalogs them. So, just FYI. There are ways to do stuff with that, but if you're unfamiliar, most of the time people end up ruining the cards. I'll tell you right now. I've seen people try to just rip them off. I've seen people steam them off. You're going to ruin them, honestly, but, that's just my opinion. Same with postcards, too. Some of the postcards you can get off, and some of them there's some things to do, but overall, sell it as a whole. You'll come out so much better. Once you start tearing the thing up, you could really lose your money if you sell it, piece it out and stuff. You'll sell the wrong one and your whole book's shot. So anyway, that's just my personal thinking on that. You'll see that I sell it in bulk lots as well too. So yes, Brian, that's the one that I'm talking about. I would not use that if it was me. You're going to run into, it's just like cross-listing on 6 sites then. You're going to run into having to sit there and pull them down from 5 other sites, plus the US site if it's doing 6 other sites. Once you're in there, though, it just automatically starts picking items. It doesn't care if they're on sale. It doesn't care about anything. You'll have the same item listed on many sites. I couldn't figure out at all how to sort them on the US site without going to their sites. It was just a fiasco. I have not heard a single word from anybody personally that liked it or did it and had any good experience with it. Most people I know have deleted it all and backed out of it, Brian. Maybe somebody's had a good stuff with it, but I personally haven't seen it or haven't heard anybody who's had a good experience with it. I wouldn't want to have to deal with the translations, the shipping you have to deal with, because the shipping was all over the place. I sold one item before I even realized it was in the program. It was a nightmare. Let me just put it that way, because then at that time I think I had to ship it from that foreign site all in another language. It was just a nightmare, honestly. I would not recommend it if it was me. Again, you might have a different experience or heard different thought, but I'm not going to do it. Yeah, I can. Washington Redskins. That's what I'm talking about specifically. My wife's family is Native American, so a lot of people think that's a slanderous term. Uh, I'm not going to get into specifics on that, but there's many things like that are slanderous to certain people. So I don't want to offend anybody or anything like that. I have sold Washington Redskin items myself, even with my family in that issue, because it's just an item. It's income. I don't get offended very easily at all, neither does the wife, but there are people in our family who are offended by that. So I do get the gist of it. It's not the only item. There's things on eBay that you put the wrong word in there and you won't be able to list it. So, I understand that aspect of it, actually. Charles Lowell, yeah, the strings of mini lights, the clear ones are what you want, though. Those sell all year for us. Sam, I have hundreds of National Geographic magazines from 30s. Is that 30s or 80s? Looks like 30s to the 50s. Any particularly good ones? If it's from the 30s and 40s, pretty much sell for us. They're not going to be huge quick movers, but if you have the maps in them, we always sell the ones with the maps right away. I sell a couple National Geographics every week, but the best ones are the war issues, World War II issues, or before. Usually 50s or newer, I have to list in a lot, unless it's like a very specific content or like an expedition or a sporting event or something like that. But most of the ones 50s and up, I only sell in bulk lots. 40s, I bought a huge lot of them, and we sold a whole bunch right away when we listed them, but they were in almost mint condition. Condition is big in those. You're not going to get a ton of money for most of them. Average price on most National Geographics from World War II is probably around $12 to $14 what I got out of them. If they have maps, I've sold them for up to $24.50 on them, and that's average across the board. I can probably give you lowest price on the ones we sold. I don't think I sold one less than 8. They're just random years and issues, but they're pretty much all war issues what I got. I think the newest one I got in there was 1947. The oldest one was 1938. Those sold right off the bat too. I would list them depending on how many you have in that specific era. If they're 50s, again, bunch them up and sell them out that way. That's my personal opinion. That's how we've done well in them. I have a Kickstarter Big Drift Thrift pending right now. I will go over it with you if people are interested in hearing it. Our toys I'm going to have on there. If it flops and no one's interested or wants to support it, you're going to know it. Things happen like that. I mean, I have markets for it right now for our trilobites, so I'm not worried if the Kickstarter doesn't go. But for me personally, I'm willing to try it. I don't care if it looks out. I turn to be a laughing stock over it. I know I can sell the items individually constantly once I start listing them. But as I said, I'm gonna have a Kickstarter up. We've already done the stuff for it. With everything going on with my son, I've just put a lot of stuff on the back burner. And once we get another employee in here, it might alleviate some things as well too. So if people are interested in the whole aspect of Kickstarter, I can do some videos from start to finish on Kickstarter as well. I've been involved with Kickstarter once before. I've got 2 friends who have done Kickstarters. One of them did a book, and he actually received almost 3 times what he was asking for to get the book printed. He did a nice animation for his, though, so it was a real nice Kickstarter. So anyway, and it did very well for him. And most people, the majority of people I see in Kickstarter don't get funded fully. So, I'm optimistic on my return on it, but it's worth a shot. I've got nothing to lose, and as I said, I throw all my cards on the table. I don't care if somebody laughs. I don't care if I fail, and I don't care if I lose money. I can always say I tried. If you're at least trying, you've got nothing to be ashamed about if something doesn't work. If you don't try, you're never going to learn a thing, and you're not going to do well in that business. That's just my personal experience. In the past, we didn't do things, and other people did them, and they did great, and I wished I would have done them. So these days, in the last year or two, we try everything. And again, I don't care if I blow on thousands of dollars on something. I'm going to try it. I'm going to get the most out of my life and what I can provide for my family out of doing this. You got to have a drive. You've got to have some vision or some factor to make you want to do this. For many people, they can't list. They have a problem listing because they get bored with it. It's not the fun part. They love buying like everybody else does. You got to find your vision, your groove. You've got to have something to be into this for. And the majority of people out here, no, I'm not saying anybody specific, but the majority of people who watch these or do these will never, ever go to a full-time aspect on eBay. And I wish they could, because you can experience the joy, I guess you could say, or the elation of being able to be your own boss, to be able to do something you need to do for your family, to not ask your boss, hey, my son's sick, I need to go get him and take him to the doctor. I was always worried, even as a general manager of my own store, to do that. I was always felt that I would be judged by my regional manager, and many times I was. My oldest son had some issues when he was younger. We had to take him to some specialists and things. He was a neonatal when he was born. He was there for like 18 days, so it took us years to get out of that debt from the hospital bills. But anyway, so I've had to deal with all this, and I understand I feel for the people working for other people. Part of the reason I'm out here trying to help it too is because I know what it's done for my life. A lot of people who do YouTube videos on eBay and stuff, they haven't had that. They haven't been at the bottom of the rung, and they're coming at it from a different aspect. A lot of people who do YouTube aren't sellers. They're more YouTubers or wanting to market services. So and again, I'm not criticizing anybody. That's their model. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. That's just not my model, and no criticizing. I watch those people who do that too, and I get stuff out of those videos. So, no criticizing anybody else. I watch all the big ones. I started watching more videos these days. I'll play them in the background. I don't necessarily watch them all, but I listen to them all. I've watched, Craigslist Picker and things like that. I've started watching Rockstar Flipper recently and Rally Roots. And I hadn't watched a lot of these. So I haven't even heard of a lot of them, honestly, because I'm not as big up on, watching so many videos. But some of the old ones, I've watched some of the ones that have been around 5 years ago that don't really do many videos these days. But, I'm a different person than everybody else. So, anyway, we'll look into that. And if I get a bunch of feedback on wanting to see a Kickstarter from start to finish, I can get into that too. There's 7 funding sites you can use, like GoFundMe and stuff like that too. So, with like GoFundMe and stuff, even if you don't hit your total, you still get to keep the money. So that may be an option too, but I'm thinking Kickstarter because it looks more professional starting with Kickstarter. They're like the leader in it from my personal opinion, so. Missy, how many items do I have listed? I've got just over 52,000 items listed on 2 sites right now. Well, I've got 3 sites, but the majority of those are on 2 different pages or 2 different stores. Let's see here. Yes, the FBA is a good thing to start. Just be cautious. Pay attention and don't break any rules on it. I'm telling you, the number one thing, you don't want to get banned for life on Amazon. Amazon's going to be taking bigger and bigger sections of the Etsy market. They're going to be taking sections of eBay's market as they are. As I've said before, there's items that I sell more on Amazon than I do on eBay. And they're vintage items. 78 records sell better on Amazon than they do on eBay. It's just a given. There's other items that I sell better on there. Some of the music store posters I sell better on Amazon any day of the week. It's a given. I'm not all eBay, so a good chunk of my business and the majority of my actual items are on eBay, but that's how that model works. I've got other avenues of income, so just because I'm selling a ton on eBay doesn't mean I'm not selling a ton on other sites, Discogs and other places as well. Etsy, for example, I have some wholesale sites we do. We've got some other business we do. I do business with a China company as well too. I do Alibaba. We purchase, we remanufacture some items. My son specifically does that. So I've got my hands on a lot of things, and that's what it takes to be at a level of sales that's going to make most people comfortable. It's another one of those given things that you have to realize. It doesn't work any other way. 10, 20 years ago, you could live off eBay very well and make 6 digits your first year selling. Nowadays, you can't. Nowadays, you have to keep increasing the amount of stuff up or, as I said, broadcast it across many sites. That's your best bet. What is an Amazon? It's a professional account to sell. As soon as you get ungated in any category, you have to have a professional account, a professional business account. It's basically just a business account. And then you're charged immediately $39.99 a month, but you have no listing fees. So you can list as many items as you want on Amazon for nothing, and you only pay the fee. Now we just got accepted. We're already in there. I haven't set up my page yet, but we've got Homemade on Amazon, which is the Etsy rival, which they just started a year or so ago. And we also they just approved us for business to business Amazon, which means we can get discounts from manufacturers who sell on Amazon to businesses only. It's a whole other branch of Amazon. I know a lot of people don't know about that, but it's business to business. It says B2B Amazon. That is another branch of Amazon. I'm on Amazon on 3 other sites too. We do Canada and Mexico on Amazon as well. So I mean, there's so much opportunity on Amazon. You'd be crazy not to get into Amazon, at least to the retail arbitrage experience, from my personal opinion. So anyway. I've been researching FBA items for Amazon, but I'm restricted on almost everything. I know you can contact them to ask by ungating, but it's a little daunting to get ungated on everything. Yeah, that's what you're going to run into. As I said, it took us a month to get ungated in collectibles. And in that time, we got ungated in records. But in the last week or so, but again, we've been selling full-time on Amazon for almost 2 years. And once in a while, I'll send in an ungating, request, to get into that category. But this past week, I've been just bombing everything. I go to the store, I scan my phone, and I keep a scan log of everything I scan. And then when I get home, I'll sit there and I'll figure out which ones I can get ungated on, which ones I need a receipt on. As I said, I've got wholesale invoices for many items. You can't use receipts anymore. You used to be able to, but you can't anymore. I've got wholesale invoices for items. Once you got the wholesale invoices for an item in that category, you can get ungated in that category with that invoice. But if you haven't been on long enough, you're going to have a struggle with some of the categories. I got ungated in a ton of items, more than I've ever even seen. We just clicked one by one. I sat there for hours one day just, submitting requests for this item, for this item, for this category, filling out the forms, sending in copies of the one invoice that they require, sending in copies. Like to get onto the Homemade on Amazon, you have to send copies of your items. You have to supply a basic website. You have to supply a lot of information. So When we first applied for it, we got refused. But now with us being on for so long, it's just boom, boom, boom. I don't even wait. There's no 2-day notice. You've been accepted, right? As soon as I hit the send button for the application, I get a notice you've been accepted due to your selling history. So, that's what you got to do. You're going to have to get your foot wet, sell some simpleton books. Books are your best bet. You can do books at any place. Savers get there first thing in the morning. Find out when they put the books out and go there and look at a book day. Go to your library book sale if that's what it takes, or go to some of these book banks and start with books. That's going to be your number one get to into there. A lot of items too you got to watch out for, like pesticides and stuff, because you got to make sure that they're registered with the federal government, and shipping rules, you're following all that kind of stuff too. So you're going to get some warnings before you accept, to make sure you've read all this stuff. Read all the information. I'm telling you right now, don't do something that you don't understand. Books are easy. Do books. That's your best bet to get into the game right off the bat. If you're interested, I have a video in my Patreon page on how to list your items on Amazon as well. I go through the listing process. So again, that's a big help for some. Let's see here. Yeah, $40. It's $39.99, but basically the same. Sam Dallas, if you're going to cut them up, I would sell the good ones, war issues and 30s on their own. If you're going to cut them up, you're going to have to sell them usually in a lot. I sell the Coca-Cola ones in a lot. I'll put, say, 10 of them up. I'll put a $34.50 price. The back covers are Coke on a lot of the war issues, and that's how I sell them. You're going to probably get more listing them as a whole magazine, in my honest opinion. If you got a bunch of free listings, what I would do is sell the Coke one on the back, on its own, maybe on a couple of them, because there's a few that go for $8 or $10. But in all honesty, I would sell them as a whole. They're small ads, so they don't sell as much unless you bulk them. Bulk Coke ads, though, as I said, a lot of 10 will sell. You'll sell them. If they're 40s or below, you'll sell all the Coke ones in bulk lots. You may be able to sell them in 5 or 6 at a time, but overall, 10's usually what I put, $34.50. Here, let me see here. We're running close to the end. You want to pop on the Patreon I'm just going to pop out and do some call-outs to my Patreon. For those who are interested, I do have a Facebook group. I will be on Patreon tonight, but I will not be on Facebook until tomorrow. I'll ask every question. I'll sit on Facebook tomorrow till everything's answered. So if anybody has anything they want a direct answer to, send it in tonight, and tomorrow I'm going to be on there until I get every single thing answered. I get up at 5 in the morning, so at 5 I'll be sitting there answering questions till I'm done. I look at pretty much most every one that I can on Facebook. Patreon I always answer anyway. We'll show you those off here. Again, that's what you got there. I want you to just pop it back, and I'll get some more questions in here, Ian. Let me see here. FBA to sell items, FBA is not the same as a professional account. You can sell individual items on Amazon and pay a listing fee per item without the business account. You switch to the business account, it's going to be much cheaper. You can FBA stuff, I believe. It's been so long, but I think you can FBA stuff no matter what. Again, I've had a business account for a couple years. We had one a while ago and had to reactivate it after we stopped, but anyway. Dad's Vintage, yes, you have to have a professional account the minute you get ungated. So if you get ungated in something, you're going to be billed $39.99 right off the bat. It's just how it works. So have your stuff ready. Know what you're going to do. I'm telling you, for retail arbitrage, if you haven't done it at all, Amazon is the bomb. It is the bomb on stuff. I sell, God, I mean, the amount of stuff you can sell on Amazon is just horrendously good. You can get stuff in clearance for a couple dollars. You can buy cases of stuff, like the honey I talked about earlier. Bought 4 cases of stuff for almost nothing. We were selling them for, up to $100 when we first started. Then they dropped down into the 80, 84 range, I think was what we ended up getting. No, 82 was the bottom line on the last ones we sold. So, the market does change. More people get into that aspect of it. So there's a ton of stuff that you can sell. You're just going to have to invest the time and effort into it. Wholesale is your way to buy some wholesale items in a certain category to get you the invoices. It's the only way I can tell you without having friends who will sell stuff for you to get into some categories. I'll never get into shoes because there's just nobody I know or no way to get an invoice for, bulk shoes and things like that. I know some people who do sell shoes. They're stores though. And again, I've gotten to know these people from, buying from them in the past. So, be friendly with people when you're out there. That's just part of the key to this. We're going to have to cut it off here in just a minute. I know I didn't get to everybody's questions. I tried to answer more questions. Thank you, Lex. I appreciate the super chat. I just saw that, so if you did that a few minutes ago, I do apologize. Make sure I'm not missing anything else. Again, I appreciate everybody coming on. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button. You're going to see a lot more content coming down the line from us, a lot of different stuff. As I said, my clay is here. I'll show it out one more time. Monster clay, the bomb. We're going to be sculpting with this. I changed over from Chivant clay, so you're going to see sculpting videos, casting videos. I'll probably just show on the Kickstarter. I've got LP haul. I've got storage locker haul. On just random boxes of who knows what, but it's all collectible, hand-picked stuff from a picker that's passed. So you're going to see some really cool stuff on here. Hopefully it'll be stuff that'll really drive you on here. I'm going to be touching on Amazon. I'm going to be doing some more specifics in my Patreon group, just because I don't share everything on this site. Just because I don't want to broadcast, my accounts and all that on everything. But anyway, I appreciate everybody coming on. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed it. If you want to see some of these other videos or information on Kickstarter, please pop that information down below after this video is done, and we will produce some stuff on that too. So again, good evening, everybody. Have a nice night. Hopefully your sales are up, and I will talk to you later.